I'm Earl Wiman. I was elected in July to the NEA Executive Committee after spending 4 years as the state president of Tennessee. And before that, I did a lot of different things. I was an elementary principal. I also taught kindergarten, was an elementary school librarian. So lots of different experiences, but pretty consistent about advocating for teachers and ESP members, regardless of the position that I held.
There's some challenges across the state,
Right.
as we know nationally. Our members in Waukesha would have loved to hear from you, but they're not able to. Could you speak to our members in Waukesha and kind of give them pointers or inspiration about where they can go from here?
Well, I think, the question always comes up, what do we do now? And I think in Waukesha, just like any other place, we continue to do what we do, which is advocate for our members. There's no law against advocating for our members. There's no law against organizing around our issues, what we know is important for ourselves and our students. There's no law against engagement of the community and engagement in the democratic process. So while the foundations may have changed a little bit, we continue to do what we do best, which is advocate for our members and advocate for the children that we serve.
And our members have had a really tough year. I mean, starting in last year through the summer has been very difficult to even now. What would you tell somebody to keep their spirits up?
Yeah. I think, first of all, what I would tell them is a little bit about the national perspective, because I never go anywhere in our country to any association meeting, whether it's state or local, and of course at the national level, where the example of what you all did here in Wisconsin is not held up to us as a wonderful example of what people can do when they're organized and they're engaged. So I think the first thing I would say is thank you for being the great example that you have been and that you are as we come under attack as a union and as professionals. So just remember that there are a lot of people across this country who are pretty much treasuring what you all have done here and are holding that up as an example for all of us. The other thing I would say is we have a number of states that are in the same situation that Wisconsin is in as far as collective bargaining, as far as membership. I know in Tennessee we were not only a bargaining state, but we were also a right-to-work state, and that made the dynamic very difficult. Our legislature, too, took away our bargaining rights in the last legislature. But we just continue to advocate. We continue to build relationships with people. We continue to make connections. And we continue to do what we need to do in order to represent our members.
And what would you say some of the biggest challenges might be for organizing members around advocacy, for organizing members around membership?
Right.
How would you speak to that?
Well, you very much have to realize, I think, not a number of things, but I think there are some things that are very key to that. I think one is relationship building, not only internally but externally. The situation that I think you're in now, similar to ours in Tennessee, is you've really got to sell yourself. You've got to sell your product. You've got to make sure that people understand what you're about and what your message is. You've got to know that membership recruitment becomes very hard. I know that we had a school superintendent who would not give one of our locals access to new teachers because that's a real key to it, I can tell you, is not only student membership, because if there are members when they're students, they come find you and they become teachers. And the other part of it is just getting to the new people in the district, and we had a superintendent who would not give access to the association to the new teachers. So they dumped a load of sand across the street at the new teacher orientation and had to put up a tent and had a beach party and a grilled stuff. And they all the new teachers came over at lunch. Every one of them were signed up, and of course the superintendent was furious, but it worked to our advantage because people had to think about it a little differently. We also have had a lot of success. When teachers retire, they all have stuff in their classroom. So many of our locals have new teacher stores. So new teachers are invited to come, and we get, like office supply companies to donate school supplies, and then new teachers can come in and shop, and they get stuff free for their classroom. And then if they join the association, they get double the stuff they would have gotten. So, there are some things like that you shouldn't have to do, but you do, just in order to get interest and to draw people. I think the other thing you've got to do is really begin to understand that it's a whole lot more than just standing up and saying this is what we're going to do. You've really got to build a team. You've really got to engage people. You've got to see what it is that really makes them, what is upsetting them, what the true issues are, and then you've got to deal with those. So I think those are some of the things that you have to look at.
And you pointed to, or you mentioned, really selling the product.
Right.
And right now, people would say, well, your product is quite nebulous.
Right.
What is really, why?
Right.
Why give my money when I'm already taking,
Right.
A pay cut to this product that you can't even promise me?
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell people that when they say that the importance of the union is their voice, but what are we going to do with that voice?
Yeah. I tell people two things. The first thing I tell them is I ask them to realize that they sit in the shade of a tree that they did not plant. And people don't like to hear war stories, but it's important to put our work in context. So I'm actually, as a teacher, as an ESP member, I'm reaping the benefit of what people have done before me. And I have to honor that. That becomes very important to me, because there are people who went without, and there were people that spent inordinate amounts of time getting us to the place that we are. And I have to be a member because I want to honor that, and I want to make sure that we continue to advocate and that we continue to do what needs to be done in order for our students to be successful and our teachers in ESP to do what they need to do. So kind of the context of if you see a turtle on a fence post, it didn't get there by itself. You had help. We've all had help. And that's what this is about. And the other thing I say is, so what are you going to do? Are you just going to go in your classroom or your work area and close the door and think all of this isn't going to affect you? Because it's not. It's going to affect you in a negative way every day. So what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to try to ignore it? Or are you going to try to become a part of what needs to happen in order for us to make sure that students have what they need and that teachers are treated as the professionals that they are, and our ESP members and teachers have the respect that they deserve?